Belfast is a city of stories, and particularly at the end of the 1960s, it went through an incredible, tumultuous phase in its history. Very dramatic, sometimes very violent, and I and my family were part of that. And it was always, for me, a story of our time in that city that would come to the surface when thinking about writing something about Ireland, that period in Belfast. There was always a story about the point in anybody's life, male or female, where there is a sort of crossover into the world of adulthood, where innocence is lost and where new responsibilities, sometimes new worries, are found. And that moment, capturing that moment of crossover, which is, in this case, in Belfast in 1969, was slightly accelerated by the events around us all. A very recognizable, intimate, small family group in a threatened, stressful situation, with some big life choices. And not epic in the grand sense of some sort of historical, biopic, but in the lives of the people involved, enormous decisions, titanic, decisions for the families, and people recognized that, I think. There was some sort of connection to the basic sort of family dynamics that were at play, but there was an immense sense of gratitude that we could tell any kind of story. The story is told through the eyes of a 9-10-year-old boy, and this is a 9-10-year-old boy who already was watching a lot of television and a lot of films and starting to filter experience through other imaginative encounters with stories. And one of the things that we explore is the idea of how many Westerns were to be seen on the television back then, and how much of a Western town Belfast could seem. When I wrote the script, I actually did feel I was writing a Western, and one that was sort of constructed in the mind of the 10-year-old Buddy. I've been very pleased that lots of people who are in it and people who've seen it since we've been working on it have talked about a sense of authenticity in the way people talk. So I think that center of it, I think, is something that is very literal and accurate. The language of the time, the way people behaved in terms of their leisure time, the extended family sing-songs, people out in the parks, the sense that the whole sort of street sort of played and worked together. There are good and bad things about that. Sometimes people knew way too much about, what was going on to be comfortable at all times. But if it takes a village to raise a child, this was a great sort of advert for it. So that side of it is all accurate. Jude Hill, does an excellent job in the film, and who we seem to find at a moment where his talent was ready to both blossom at the same time as Jude himself was in the best possible way ordinarily enjoying himself as a 10-year-old boy. So football for him in the film and on the streets was as important and enjoyable as making the movie. We wanted that. We didn't want somebody who was suddenly decided they were a big movie star. But at the same time, he was very serious, very prepared, very open, very flexible. Somehow you need this curious combination. Could you just be yourself, and also could you make all these tiny adjustments I'm asking you to do that might be difficult for an actor with many decades of experience? And in the process of him doing the latter, you don't want to change him from the beautiful original. As always, those who surround him, families, and in this case colleagues on the film, become critical. They're critical influences, and in this case they were so wise and compassionate. And he himself is kind of older than his years, a quality that is great for the part. And he turned out to be a real winner for us. My approach with younger actors is to treat them as if they were much older, certainly respect them entirely, and Also respect if they have some intuitive way that they might like to work. Some people respond to lots of words, some people don't. Some people like it to be a game the whole time. Some people need to be encouraged to do a bit more homework, and we probably encourage that a bit more. Jude's mum, Shawneen, was very, very good at preparing him with lines, and we made it very clear how vital it was to know the lines very well, quite a long way ahead of the day you might do them, because the dates might change. You might suddenly be doing it tomorrow, and if your effort in the morning is just about remembering the lines, you're not going to be as good as if you knew them, had forgotten them, and now could just be with them. And he seemed to understand that. Well, we wanted a level of authenticity. So Jamie Dornan is a real Belfast boy. He's just outside Belfast in Hollywood, County Down, and Kieran Hines, who plays Pop, was brought up a mile from where I lived, so we practically could have shouted at each other from house to house. Katrina Balfe from the south of Ireland, but has a great understanding of the sort of vernacular Irish extended family life. And then Judi Dench, who has a lot of Irish blood in her, is the thoroughbred who can sort of do anything and attracts many actors because they so want to work with her. With Jude, with Jamie, with Kieran, we had such a deep level of authenticity and understanding that any gaps that Judi needed plugged in, that they could provide with their knowledge and their ability to understand certain kinds of situations. But Judi is so meticulous in her research that she brought that anyway. And then we had a chance, we've worked with many people over the years from Northern Ireland, from Belfast, so we got a chance to work with people we had sometimes, we're now so old that we'd given prizes to various people who ended up in the, as younger actors who ended up in the film a little bit older. It just needed particularly to sound Irish, but we also needed people who could do that and be very clear as well, because sometimes the Northern Irish accent can be something that a larger world takes a moment to catch on to, and we didn't want to have that time delay, so you needed authenticity and clarity, and this group of actors gave it, plus a sort of sense of energy, real sort of front-footed energy that I liked. There was an outgoing quality that meant they became a family very quickly. Jude Hill and Lewis McCaskey, who played Will, his older brother, they got to be very sort of filial and fraternal immediately. So did Lara McDonnell, who plays Moira, this sort of cousin. And that, frankly, one of the elements of lockdown, which was the bubble in which people had to live, was very good for engendering a sense of family, which was so key to what we were after, and this film benefited from it.